Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down something pretty mind-bending. How the super rich use debt. Yeah, debt. But not as a trap. They use it as a powerful tool to get even richer.
Okay, so let's start with this one core idea. Think of money like a river, right? It's always moving, it never just sits still. The real secret to getting wealthy isn't about, collecting money in a bucket. It's all about learning how to steer that powerful current.
So for most of us, that river can feel pretty dangerous. We get dragged down by debt that just sucks our resources dry. But the wealthy? Oh, they do something completely different. They don't just try to stay afloat, they build a massive engine right in the middle of that river. And the fuel for that engine? It all comes down to understanding that there are two very different kinds of debt.
Okay, so on one side, you've got what we call bad debt. And you know this stuff. High-interest credit cards, car loans for a car that's losing value every single day. This kind of debt is like a leak in your boat. It's constantly draining cash out of your pocket. But then there's good debt. We're talking about strategic business loans or mortgages on a property that's actually making you money. This debt puts cash into your pocket.
And that right there, that leads us to the golden rule. This is maybe the single most important thing to remember from this whole explainer. For debt to make you rich, it must put more money in your pocket than it takes out. That's it. It really is that simple.
All right, so let's get practical. Let's dive into the first couple of strategies. These are all about using debt to get your hands on physical things, actual stuff like products and property, and then making those assets work for you.
So picture a wholesaler, right? They need to buy a bunch of inventory from a factory. Now, they could pay for it all up front with cash, but that just locks up all their money. The smart move? They get the inventory on credit. Why? Because it frees up their own cash for the stuff that actually grows the business. We're talking marketing, sales, all that good stuff.
Just look at how this works. It's brilliant. First, you get the goods, but you've got, say, 60 days to pay for them. In that window, you turn around and sell those goods to your customers. Then, you use the money they just gave you to pay the factory back. Think about that. You've just made a profit using the factory's money, and not one single dollar ever had to leave your own bank account. Okay, strategy number 2. This one is a famous one in real estate. It's called the BRRRR method. And it's basically a way to turn a rundown property into your own personal ATM. Seriously, you use debt to basically create value out of thin air, and then you pull all of your original cash right back out to go do it all over again. So the process is right there in the name. You B, buy a place that needs a little love. You R, rehab it. You fix it up, which increases its value. You R, rent it out to get that sweet, sweet cash flow coming in. And then the magic step, you R, refinance based on its new, much higher value. Let's look at the numbers, because that's where this really clicks. Okay, let's walk through an example. Let's say you start by buying a duplex for $500,000, and you use a loan to cover not just the purchase, but the repairs you need to do too. So you do the work, you finish the renovations, and the bank sends out an appraiser. And boom, the property is now valued at $700,000. You didn't just wait for the market to go up. You forced the appreciation. You literally just created $200,000 in new equity. And here comes the best part. You go back to the bank and you refinance based on that new higher value. From that new loan, you pay back everything you originally borrowed, and you walk away with, in this case, $110,000 cash in your pocket. And get this, it's tax-free. Why? Because it's a loan, not income. So you've got all your original money back, plus a profit, and you still own the building that's paying you every single month. Incredible. Okay, so now let's take this same idea and scale it way up. We're moving from physical stuff to the huge worlds of business and the financial markets, where debt isn't just a tool, it's an amplifier.
All right, strategy number 3, and this is crucial. We're not talking about starting a business from scratch here. This is about taking a business that's already working, already profitable, and pouring gasoline on the fire. If you have a proven model, debt lets you grow so much faster than you ever could just using your own cash.
I mean, think about it. The logic is so simple. A company like Apple, they're sitting on mountains of cash, right? But they still go out and borrow money by issuing bonds, let's say at a 4% interest rate. Now, why on earth would they do that? Because they know they can take that borrowed money and plow it into projects that'll earn them 12%, 15%, or even more. They borrow at 4,
earn at 12, and just pocket the difference. That's spread. It's just smart business to use other people's money to grow faster.
Now let's talk about the stock market. Here, debt has a different name. It's called leverage. And a good way to think about it is like the volume knob on a stereo. It can crank up your potential gains to an incredible level, but you have to remember, that knob works both ways. It can also amplify your losses just as fast.
So this is basically how buying on margin works. Let's say you've got $40,000 of your own money. Your broker might lend you another 60 grand, which means you suddenly have the buying power of $100,000. Now, if the stock you bought goes up just a little bit, that gain is magnified like crazy against your original $40,000. It's a high-risk, high-reward game.
All right, now we're getting into the truly next-level stuff. These last couple of strategies, this is how the ultra-wealthy use debt for more than just investing. This is how they manage their taxes and fund these insane lifestyles, all without ever having to sell their best assets.
So, strategy number 5. It's got kind of a grim name, but it's called the buy, borrow, die method. And yes, it sounds a little morbid, but it's a 100% legal and unbelievably powerful tax strategy. The basic idea is you live off of cheap loans that are secured by your ever-growing portfolio of assets.
So here's how it breaks down. Step 1. You buy assets that appreciate in value. Stocks, real estate, art, whatever. Step 2. Instead of selling those assets to get cash, which would trigger a huge tax bill, you just borrow against them for all your living expenses. And step 3, you just hold on to those assets until you die. And the whole reason this works, the magic key, is a little-known feature of the tax code. It's called the stepped-up basis, and here's what it means. When your kids or grandkids inherit your stuff, the IRS basically hits a reset button. They pretend the asset was purchased on the day you died at its current market value. So if you bought a stock for $10 and it's worth $1,000 when you pass away, for tax purposes, it's as if your heir bought it for $1,000. All those years of capital gains, poof, gone, completely and legally erased.
Okay, last strategy. This one brings it back home, literally. So you ever wonder why a billionaire, like say Mark Zuckerberg, who could buy a house with pocket change, would take out a mortgage? I mean, why would he do that? Well, it all comes down to one simple, powerful concept: opportunity cost. I mean, just think about the two options here. You could pay $2 million in cash for a house. Okay, great. But now that $2 million is just sitting there, locked up in the walls of your house. It's not working for you. Or you could get a mortgage at a super low rate, maybe 3%. Now that $2 million in cash is free. You can invest it in something that could earn you, 15%. You're borrowing money at 3% to make 15%. It's a no-brainer.
So, wow, we've covered a ton of ground here, right? From real estate flips all the way to some pretty complex tax law. So what's the big idea? What's the one thing you should walk away with after all this?
At the end of the day, debt isn't good or evil. It's not an angel or a demon. It's just a tool, a lever, a really, really powerful lever. And whether that lever lifts you up to new heights of wealth or crushes you, that depends entirely on whether you know how to use it. And that really brings it all down to a simple choice. Are you the master or are you the servant? You're a servant to debt when it's just sucking money out of your bank account every month. That's your credit card bill, your car payment. But you become the master. You become the master when you flip the script and use debt to put more money into your pocket. That's the whole game.
So I'll leave you with this question. That river of money we talked about at the beginning, it's flowing past you right now. Is it powering an engine that you've built, or is it slowly drowning you? Learning these principles, really understanding them, that's the first step to building your own engine and finally taking control of that powerful current.